Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. So by now I'm pretty sure you know that I did not have to bug out, okay? I'm pretty sure that everyone who clicked on that video already knew from my previous shenanigans that I didn't have to bug out, that we didn't have red dawn. But it's good to see you all. It just happens that yesterday was supposed to be our fishing trip, and then we got stormed out. The winds were so bad and it was thundering and lightning and stuff that they canceled our trip. So we're gonna go on our fishing trip today, but it just happens to be about 5 o'clock in the morning and our fishing trip is not for a few more hours. So I thought that I'd go over my get home bag and my medical bag with you all so you can see what I carry. I actually had to get into my get home bag once, not for an emergency, but for our fishing trip. And the reason is because we needed to get some ponchos, and I didn't even think about that before we left the house. They had it on their literature, but didn't read through the whole thing and found out when we got here, hey, we need some ponchos. And yesterday, all of the stores were closed because we had a power outage in the entire peninsula. So one of the things that I brought with me during this little getaway here was the Opus 1800 watt solar generator, and of course it was full. I made sure that I maintained it charged throughout the entire trip. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, that power outage lasted about, I don't know, 12 hours or so. The entire island was out. This guy right here, his cabin was the only one with power because we were able to power everything. I had my jet boil, so I was able to get hot coffee even though all the shops were closed. I even offered some hot coffee to my neighbor here to the side. But anyways, it worked out bringing that along. At first I was like, man, this is probably too bulky to bring along. And then I was like, you know, what do you have it for if you're not going to take it? If you don't need it, that's great. But what if you do need it? Guess what? We ended up needing it. So it worked out good. Kept all of our things charged up, and that's what it's for, to keep the things charged up and to maintain your standard of living. Had we not had that solar generator with us, our phones would have run out of batteries. All right, and like I said, we were out of power for like 12 hours, but enough on that. So this here is like my get home bag, and it's missing a couple of things, like I said, because I went ahead and took it out, and we're actually going to use it today on our trip. So let's go ahead and open this up. The angle of this table that I'm sitting on is really weird. It's like angled down, so I'm sorry if you can't see, you know, everything very well, but everything I take out of here, I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to put on the table, and then I'm going to take a picture of everything in the end. Same thing with the medical table. So let's start out with the small pouch here. See what we got in here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first thing here. My get home bag has a roll of 20 1-ounce silver coins. So that's the first thing. We've got some duct tape, and I also have my favorite type of adhesive tape in the truck. I always carry it on the driver's side door, you know, where there's a little gap in the door. That's where I carry it, along with my mini boomsticks that I carry whenever I go on a trip like this. So that is electrical tape. I love electrical tape more so than duct tape, but duct tape has its uses and it's great to have. And this duct tape, to tell you the truth, is several years old. And some people would say, well, it goes bad after so many years because it kind of like blends into itself. But no, it doesn't. As long as you keep it out of the sunlight, right, it does just fine. So I can go ahead and peel this duct tape right off if I wanted to use it. See that? It peels right off. So duct tape, in my opinion, you need to have it. I've got some 550 cord. I also carry a huge roll of 550 cord in the back of my truck at all times. This is just in case you have to actually leave your truck as well. I've got some shoelaces. I think I've got a couple of packs of shoelaces right here. Let's go into the big pouch over here. I've got a can of Sterno. I've got a couple of pairs of work gloves. That's one pair. The other one's right here. So I've got a couple of pairs of work gloves, good work gloves, okay? These are more kind of like versatile work gloves that you can actually use with a boomstick if you had to use your boomstick. And these are just serious work gloves right here. This little baggie here is one of the baggies that held my poncho, and that's going to be used today, so it's inside of the cabin. But to get this out of the way, I went ahead and put some fire making material in there. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we always have the easiest way to make fire. There's a lighter in there. There's a big lighter in there. It's brand new. I've also got a magnesium stick with a ferrocerium rod, one of those cheapos, but guess what? It works. And I've got some dryer lint in there. It doesn't have to be fancy for it to work, remember. I apologize if the sun is affecting the picture. I got some matches. Now, for those of you that maybe don't want to go out there and spend a couple of bucks on a box of matches like these are like weatherproof matches. What you can do is you can melt some wax, and you can take regular stick matches and dip them in the wax, and that pretty much waterproofs the tip of them. Then if you ever, and it actually helps the flame to last a little longer. Then if you ever have to use them, what you have to do is scrape a little bit of that wax off the head. Go ahead and strike it. It'll work just fine. I have some fuel tablets. And that's it for that bag. This is probably one of the first little things that I got when I first started prepping. It's one of these little emergency survival bottles, which actually is pretty handy. Guess what? It came with a poncho, and we're going to be using that poncho today. But it also has a flashlight. It also has an emergency blanket, a survival blanket, and it has a whistle with a compass on it. Cheap compass, but guess what? It works. And of course, the bottle. I have some winter gloves, not heavy winter gloves, but winter gloves that are suitable for the weather. And believe it or not, it's about 52, 54 degrees right now, so it's a little chillier here than it is up north in Fairbanks. My wife got me this. This is one of the first prepper gifts that my wife got me, and it's a Bear Grylls Gerber knife, and it's actually a very, very nice, sturdy knife. Let me show you it. It's got a really thick blade. Look at the ridge on this thing. It's nice and thick. It's about 1/4 inch. It's got a serrated part right here, if you can see that. And it's got a very, very nice sharp blade as well. And I was really excited when I got this because I got it for Christmas several years ago. Okay. But it also comes with a little ferrocerium rod. See that? It comes with a little ferrocerium rod that you put it right here. Very handy. It's pretty sturdy. It has a steel backing right there. I'm not sure if you can see that steel strip. Here I have a little stove, right, with more S-bit fuel tabs. Some more matches. Redundancy, ladies and gentlemen, is what it's all about. I have an alcohol stove here as well. And in addition to that, I do have a bottle of alcohol that I carry inside the truck. There are some things that I carry inside the truck that are really readily available, like a small water filter, some alcohol, what do you call it? A tourniquet, right? A tourniquet with scissors that I can get to really quick. That way I don't have to look for it, right? So things that I think that I may need in a hurry and I need to get to really quick, I just go ahead and store it readily available in the truck. That way I don't have to bother opening the bag and looking for it. And things like a tourniquet, pair of scissors, alcohol, stuff like that. More on the medical side, small water filter that I can get to in a really quick hurry. That I like to keep readily available. That way I don't have to look for it. And of course, you got your little cheapo little pot set, right? Camping pot set. I've got a couple of spare pairs of spoons, don't I? Yeah, I got a couple sets of silverware. This is a little cheapo one that I got as a gift a long time ago, years and years ago. I've got some toe warmers and hand warmers. A cheapo flashlight. I keep my really good flashlight in my door as well. It's a through night, and we actually had to use it here yesterday, so it's inside the cabin because remember, we lost power. And even if they're cheap, ladies and gentlemen, think about this. If you don't have any at all, this makes all the difference in the world. But I always try to keep at least one really good quality, and then a couple of cheapos as well. I keep a bunch of tea lights. I keep some ibuprofen. Some fire starters. And these are the fire starters that you actually strike. If you can see the red, You can actually strike them and they'll start up. A pretty nice Swiss Army knife. I've had this thing for years and years and years. So this is a foldable. And it's very good quality, actually. It's got a little lock right here where you can actually lock it. Right? So it's very nice. I got this as a gift as well, years and years ago. I keep some floss. A little bit of medical tape on this one. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I keep a Milky Way. We're going to have to open this up to see if it's good because this is several years old. And the last thing, ladies and gentlemen, that I'll show you is this. This is the very first prepping food that I put away, that I actually put away myself in a mason jar. And actually, it's just shy of 10 years old, okay? But I packed this December of 12. All right, so I packed this December of 12. This is some of that like sassafras or saffron rice. Right, back then I wasn't really packing a lot of rice and beans. I had just started prepping. And as you can see, it's got the label on there, which will be able to tell me how much is a serving and how much water I need to add to this. So guess what we're going to be doing? When I get back home, I'm going to be pulling this back out and I'm going to be cooking it up and seeing if it's still good after just shy of 10 years old. Right now, that's my get home bag. Like I said, there's a few things missing that I either have in the truck in separate locations or that we're actually using. So when I get home, I'm gonna go ahead and go over this again. I'm gonna go ahead and repack everything and make sure that I have everything in there that I would need. So let's go over and do our medical bag now. Now this here, ladies and gentlemen, is my medical bag. All right, this is the stuff that I have that holds any kind of medical supplies and even some toiletry supplies. So as you can see on the outside here, we have a marker. I think it's very important. We have some toilet tabs. All right, so there's toilet paper tabs. And this little thing brings, I believe it's 10 of them in them. I used to keep a roll of toilet paper in here, but look at how much smaller this is. Compact. And it gives you, I would say that each tablet, if you were disciplined on how you use it, could get you through a number 2. So you can see that zips open right there. We have something that I think is very important. Some Orajel, okay? Orajel, if you want to have some, if you don't want to buy Orajel, but you have some cloves, you can get some cloves also. That helps with toothaches, or if you have clove oil, that helps as well. Can never hurt. Can never hurt. Pocket guide to first aid. Of course, I have a few pens. And I have a few tags just in case you come across an accident or something and you're going to be a good Samaritan and help out. I also have some index cards in there for you to be able to keep note. Let's say, for example, you come across an accident in a remote location. Like on our way here, there were locations there wasn't a gas station or anything for like 30, 40, 50 miles sometimes. And it would take a long time for any kind of emergency workers to get there. Right? So, or first responders to get there, right? So let's say that you have the knowledge and you may have to do the triage. You know, in the Army, they show us how to triage in a triangle, right? You have people that are really, really severe, people that are like a number 2, and then people that are like a number 3, that they're okay, but they can pretty much take care of themselves. Number 2s, they're going to make it, but you just should be checking in on them. And number 3s, the ones that are the most severe, should be the ones on the triangle that's closest to where the emergency personnel are going to be pulling up on, right? You're going to have those there and you're going to be checking up on those often, keeping them stable, right? So it's a good thing to be able to take notes, because even in a situation like that, you're not going to be going 100 miles an hour the whole time, right? Maybe at first to stabilize people, put on a tourniquet, put on bandages, etc. But eventually you're going to have to take some notes in order to be able to help the emergency personnel get a good grasp on how each patient is doing. Okay, let's see what we have in our top pocket. I have to be careful because I don't want everything to spill out. I think, yep, that's what I have here. I have some gauze. I have a stapler. And if you want to learn how to use a stapler, go and check out Gray Man's channel. Right? He just had a video not too long ago on how to use a stapler. Ammonia inhaler, a little cheapo pair of scissors. Redundancy is a great thing. The pair of scissors that I have in my truck is a very nice pair of scissors and tourniquet that one of you all sent me. All right, and then what is this right here? A little bit of burn gel. Right, Nothing that's life-saving, but you never know. You may need to use it, you know, just for everyday life. In here, we have, this is what is called a nasal pharyngeal. And the way this works is, let's say, for example, you come up on someone who's had a mouth injury or a jaw injury and they can't really breathe. What you would do is you would lubricate this part right here, and you would actually stick it up through their nasal cavity so that they can use their nasal cavity, be cleared up so that they can breathe in and out. A pneumothorax, I believe is what you call it. I think this is a 20 gauge, 18 gauge needle that you can actually use for someone that has a pulmonary pneumothorax, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm not a professional, ladies and gentlemen. These are just little tidbits that I learned. I'm very comfortable with using this, very comfortable with using this as well. I learned this stuff in the Army during Combat Lifesavers course, CLS. But what you would use this for is, for example, if somebody has a collapsed lung, it's very dangerous, because what's happening is every time that they inhale, when they try to exhale, that collapsed lung won't exhale, but it will allow the air that's in it to escape into your chest cavity. And the more pressure that's put onto your chest cavity, the more pressure that there will be put onto your heart. And eventually it will be very difficult for you to breathe, where they eventually suffocate. What this does is, do your research, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, I'm not a professional, okay? So don't be going out there and buying a needle and thinking you can do it. Right, because there's a certain place where you need to put this, and it's dependent on whether you're a male or a female. For a female, usually you're going from the side of the rib cage. With a male, you can go in from the top of the rib cage or the side of the rib cage, and it has to do with how many fingers away from the nipple, or how many ribs down. Okay. But I'm not going to go into that. I'm confident with doing it, but this is something that I think is pertinent for everyone. All right, let's take a look at our side pouch, right? This is something else that I think everyone ought to have, even if you buy one, because you can use one of these for more than one application. And that is some combat gauze, or some people call it clot gauze, right? This has an agent on it that will help your blood to clot up quick. So if you have a cut that doesn't want to stop bleeding, and it's not a cut where you can place a tourniquet. Let's say, for example, you have a cut deep in here, right? Deep inside your shoulder well right here, right? Between your neck and your shoulder. You can literally take this, unravel it, and you can just stuff it in there. You can just keep stuffing it in there, right? And this will stop the bleeding. This will even stop, now ladies and gentlemen, do your research. This will even stop arterial bleeding. Right, until a professional can get on board and help out. All right, so this is important. I know these are a little bit pricey. I think they're like 20 bucks or 25 bucks for one. But these come just like a gauze, all wrapped up. You can actually tear these apart and string them out and actually use it like that. All right, so this is important. Of course, if you're going to get a tourniquet, get a good quality tourniquet. This one is a little bit of a cheapo, but this one is a good one. Right, this is a good one, and have a good one. Very, very handy, very accessible. You notice that the tourniquet and the combat gauze, I keep those on the outside pockets. That way, if I need to get to them in a hurry, I can get to them in a hurry. Thank God I have never ever had to use one of these. And by the way, if you ever do have to stuff some combat gauze into a deep laceration that won't stop bleeding, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you understand that if you have help to try to hold someone down, that you get help, because that hurts a lot. And not that it's ever happened to me, but it's painful, all right? And putting on a tourniquet is also very painful. Make sure that you understand how to put on a tourniquet properly, all right? I'm not going to go ahead and give you a lesson here, but I'll go ahead and give you a really, really quick 15-30-second lesson. So the bottom part of your arm, same thing with the bottom part of your leg, below your knee and below your elbow, there's two bones, right? In your legs and your arm. The top part, you only have one bone. So I've seen a lot of people in YouTube world say that, okay, if you have uncontrolled bleeding, let's say, for example, your hand is chopped off right here for whatever reason, and you have uncontrolled bleeding. I've seen people say that you only have to put the tourniquet about 4 finger lengths above that laceration or that cut or that amputation. In my opinion, and this is how I was taught, but I believe that this is the right way, that is wrong. Whenever you want to stop bleeding, it's not necessarily four finger widths away, right? You have to go up to the higher joint, because being that there's two bones right here, that artery, when you start squeezing that tourniquet, that artery can hide in between your two bones, right? They can hide and it could continue to bleed. But since there's only one bone above your elbow, even if you have your hand chopped off here, let's say, you want to make sure that you put that tourniquet above the elbow. That way you're going to know for a fact that you're going to get that artery squeezed off. But like I said, do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not the one-all be-all. These are just the things that I do. So let's go ahead and go into the main pocket now, or the main pouch. So let's see what we got in here. We got another sniffer, right, with ammonia. And like I said, we have some toiletry items, right? So if you're gonna be on a 3-day hump, or however long it may take you to get home, you may want to get some toiletry items, because having nice fresh breath is good. I have a little bit of baby powder here. Of course, I have some chapstick. And other than that, I have some, what do you call this again? I don't use it because I don't really need it. It's called SPF 50, all right? That way you don't get burned up. I have a few hats inside of there, inside the truck, that I don't have in here. We've been using them. A good quality pair of glasses, all right? Preferably glasses that are going to protect your eyes and not just being used for convenience. Right, glasses that will actually protect your eyes against any kind of projectile or rock or something coming up towards you. Maybe if your firearm misfires or something like that. I've seen it happen before, and it saved it was a captain. It saved the captain's life, not his life. It saved his eyesight, because his firearm misfired, and everything came blowing back. Now his face was scattered with little holes, right? But the only thing that wasn't scattered was his eyes, the footprint of his sunglasses, and it saved his eyes. A little flashlight with a little glow stick. Now these glow sticks, I switch them out every 2 or 3 years. Why? Because they do go bad. Although I do have some glow sticks that are years and years old, and they're still good, believe it or not. This here is a nasty little rehydration salt packet. The reason I say nasty is because it doesn't taste good at all, but it will rehydrate you. I have some saline for your eyes in case you need it. I have several different types of bandages. I have a survival blanket right here, right? And this is very nice. This will keep you nice and warm. Let's see what kind of matches these are. Oh, these are the nice ones. These are the ones that you can actually keep lit underwater. So you can actually light this, put them underwater, and when they come back up, they'll light right back up again. It's very important to have redundancy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, redundancy. I mean, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I believe in redundancy. I've got some gloves, and I also keep extra gloves, nitrile gloves, in the back of my truck. Not only for medical purposes, but just for anything. Just if I need to know that I want to keep my hands clean, I have some gloves back there. But it'll work. I have some more bandages. This is a seal in case you have a chest wound or something like that and you need to seal that wound, along with some more bandages. I'm not going to show you all the bandages I have, but I have a lot of bandages in here. I have a life straw, which it will do the job, all right? But I would recommend like a Sawyer Mini for you to travel with, so that the cost won't be as much, because you can use those a lot longer. But I also have a life straw, and I do have a Sawyer Mini as well in there. Redundancy is what it's all about. I have some moleskin, very important. I have an eye patch, right, just in case you need it. Some more wraps. And some more 550 cord. Now I have to end this really quick because I'm almost out of storage capacity in my high-speed camera, or in other words, my phone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't talk much about firearms on my channel, but I truly do believe that it is a necessity. You need to have it. It's just that by nature, I'm a very peaceful person, and it's one of those things that I keep private often, because it's one of those things I don't even want to think about ever having to use it. But I do believe that you need to be well trained, right? And you need to know your firearm. every single firearm that I own, I can take apart, I can field service. I'm not a master, you know, gunsmith, but I can do the basic things in order to keep it functional. And even with firearms, I like to have redundancy. So whenever I go on a long trip, I usually carry obviously more than one, just in case. I make sure that I have extra, you know, freedom seeds just in case, right? And hopes that I will never ever have to use it. Right, so this is what I carry when I go far. Usually when I travel away from my home, just on everyday carry, I carry a small one, but one that can be used as a defensive tool and not really an offensive. When I'm away from home, I'll carry this. This is just a Smith & Wesson 40 cal, and this cheap little holster here has a spot where you can put an additional magazine. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I always carry it loaded. Because if it's not loaded, what good is it going to do you if you need it in a hurry? Now, this is what I carry for my everyday. For those of you that don't know, for my everyday, I just carry a small 38 SP. And this is a very nice little gun. So when I first got this, I paid like 300 bucks for it. It was on sale. And I just looked at a flyer where they were selling the same model at Sportsman's Warehouse about 5 years later. Now it's almost double the price. So I'm glad I got this. Very, very reliable. In my opinion, if you are a beginner with firearms, you should get a revolver. And this is what I carry for self-defense and self-defense alone. I would not use this as an offensive weapon unless it was dire straits. This is more of an offensive weapon as far as I'm concerned. The reason being is because you have a lot more range with this, whereas with this you have to be pretty close and personal to use it. And this right here is my wife's EDC. It's a little Ruger as well. But that's it. That's what I have. And like I said, I always make sure to bring extra freedom seeds because you never know. And there's my electrical tape. I always have some electrical tape in here. And of course, this is an awesome lighter. Let me see if you can lock it. All right, it works off of butane and you can refill it, and all you have to do is press the trigger and it makes an awesome flame. You don't need to have that flame on for very long in order to start a fire. You can adjust how much of a flame you want. And it's just an awesome little fire starter. Now, I believe in having the easiest tool that you can possibly have for any situation. And then if you have to adjust fire and get something else that's not as complicated, then you can. So this is just another knife that I carry. It's just an old buck knife. I've had this knife for probably more than a decade now, not longer. And that's all that I have on this side of the truck. Now what I do with my medical bag is I put it behind this seat right here. And the reason that I put my medical bag behind the seat of the driver's side is because if I need to get to it, I want to be able to get to it really quick. My other bag, my get home bag, that I really wouldn't need to get to quick because there's nothing in there really that I need to use for a serious emergency. I have this right here. I can get it and unhook it really quick. As you can see over there, there's my other bag, and I always carry this roll of 550 cord in the truck along with some I know, ladies and gentlemen, Diet Mountain Dew, but look, I started the trip out with a 6-pack and I still have 4 left. All right, so that's pretty good. I have some jumper cables here. I have some tire chains. I just leave them in the truck even though I don't need them. I just leave them there because they've already found a home and they're there to stay. And of course, I briefly showed you some of this stuff on my previous video, but this is just some of the things that I carry for long trips. I don't carry this stuff here for like every day. So I have some extra antifreeze. I have some extra windshield wiper. I have some extra oil. I have a little compressor along with that goo that you put in your tires only for emergencies. Of course, I always carry my construction bags or construction plastic bags, garbage bags. I have some industrial paper towels there. I have a little flat tire set right here just in case. I'll make sure that you know how to use this. It's very, very simple to use. Pretty much all you need is this right here. I actually got some of these guys right here. I don't know their names. Let me see. Premium tire repair inserts. All right, that's what they're called. I got some extras that are a little bit thicker just in case. So the only thing that you would need besides these things and a compressor, of course, is a nice sharp blade. Cut this off at the top. So if I were to get a flat, I would start out with this, hoping that I can find where the actual puncture was before I tried to go on to using the goo, right? Of course, I always have an extra windshield wiper. Always have a pair of work gloves here that are readily accessible. Those little smelly things, I just got them there because they fit there nice. And a small tool set. And this is just stuff that we brought for the trip. So obviously in there you see I got some coffee. There's my alcohol in there. Some extra bottles, spoons. I have to have my Tabasco sauce, ladies and gentlemen. That is a fact. And of course I brought some extra food just in case. This cooler here I bought at Costco. It actually works really well. We started our trip out 3 days ago. I put 4 bags of ice in here. And about half of the ice is still in there. So that's great. This little Yeti that I purchased at REI, I'm not sure how well it's worked yet, but we're going to find out right now, because what I did is I filled it up with ice before we left about 3 days ago, and I put water in it. So we're going to open it up and see how much water there is in it and how much ice there is in it, respectively. Now, somebody emailed me and told me they would never buy a Yeti because Yeti is anti-2A. I didn't know that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I'm not going to get rid of this one because I've already paid for it. But if that's true, I'm definitely not buying another Yeti. But anyways, that's my opinion. I'll see if I can open this with my phone in one hand, with my high-speed camera in one hand. If not, we'll just come back in a second. And of course, I could not open it, but I loosened it, and I haven't looked in there yet, so we'll have to see what happens. And look at that. This is 3 days, ladies and gentlemen. Now, granted, this was full of ice and water, so there's at least, I would say, about 1/3 of the ice is still in there after 3 days. Not too bad at all. And of course, we have to travel with some extra gasoline. So what I did was I already went ahead and switched this out. The last time that we needed gasoline, I went ahead and used my old gasoline and filled this with some new gasoline. That way, when I get home, I can just put it in the fuel tank and we'll be good to go. Well, that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got something out of this. If anything, a little bit of entertainment. This video probably went on way too long, but you know what? I always have a good time talking with you. As you all know, I don't like to talk to you, but I like to talk with you. So right now, I am looking at you as I stare in this camera. I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your support. And yes, this is where I bugged out to. All right, you already know. All right, I hope you enjoyed that video as well. Love you all. Have a great day. Be safe, and God bless every one of you.